Hello guys, welcome back to another episode here on African Confessions. There is a message that I want to share with you guys, and the message reads like this. Hello brother Nashi, how are you? Can you please post my story as anonymous? This is my story. So I can say that this whole thing started when I started working. At that time I was working for this other certain man. I was working as his gardener. And soon after I had gotten the job, that was when I thought that it was high time for me to get married. So I then got married. But after I had gotten married, Brother Nashi, there was always trouble in my marriage because the money was never enough, because we would just go and buy the food and a few clothes and my whole paycheck will be gone. And the woman that I got married to first, she was that type of a woman who was never grateful. Yes, I admit that I was poor, but the woman that I was married to, she was just not grateful. So when I had proposed love to her, Brother Nashi, knowing that I was a gardener, I was not open enough with her. I just lied to her that I was still continuing with my studies, because at that time she was also in college. But after she had fallen pregnant for me, then her parents forced her to come and stay with me. Only after she had started staying with me, that was when she realized that I was not that man that she thought that I was, because all along when we were still dating, I had this other friend of mine. He was staying in that same area where I was working as a gardener. So at the place where he was working, it was almost like he was just a caretaker, because the owners of the house, they were staying out of town. So I lied to this girl that I was the owner of that. So I lied to that girl that my parents were the owners of that house. Then we started sleeping together until she fell pregnant. After she had fallen pregnant, that was when I came clean. I told her that I was just a gardener, and at the place where we used to go and sleep, it was not my parents' house like I had told her, but it was a place where my friend was working also as a gardener. But I tried to show her that I had so much potential, because I really had a good education, but there were a few stuff that needed to be sorted out in my life. Then soon enough I was going to get a job. She agreed, Brother Nashi, but each and every time that there will be trouble in the house, just like my mother, because she had that same character that my first wife had. Each and every time there was no money in the house, she will always insult me. And she will say that she regretted ever getting married to me, because I was nothing but a poor man. She wanted to get married to a man who will be able to take care of her, and I had failed to do that. And she said that my money was not useful. I was just useless. All that I could do was just to buy a few basic things and just clothes that were really cheap. So life was really tough, Brother Nashi. She had given up on me. Then when I had seen that my wife had given up on me, that was when I started going around. At first I was going to church, but whilst I was in church, I met this other man who gave me a prophecy, and he told me that he saw that in our family there was a curse. It was a generational curse, and if I was not going to break that generational curse, even the next generation was going to suffer just like the way that I was suffering. So I started praying, Brother Nashi, but I saw that prayer was not helping me at all. I then started visiting a lot of high priests and priestesses until I met this other priestess who told me that she was able to conquer that generational curse that had been placed upon my family. She then told me that she had seen that the person who had brought this generational curse into our family, it was an auntie of ours. And this auntie of ours, Brother Nashi, the way that she died, it was quite a strange way, even though we were still young. But when she died, it was like there was something that was stuck between her teeth. She could no longer move her jaws at all. That was the way that she died. Our auntie died out of starvation because she was unable to eat And with all the poverty that was there in our family, no one could afford to go with our auntie to the hospital and let our auntie stay in the hospital for a very long time. So all that my parents could do, and my father's brothers and his sisters, they could only afford to buy some painkillers for my auntie. But since she could not move her jaws, she then died out of starvation. I still remember that my mother used to take a straw, then she will pound the food so that the food can become liquid. That was the way that they used to feed my auntie. But this was not enough, because our auntie had problems with swallowing. It was like there was something that was holding her jaws as well as her throat. That was the way that our auntie passed away. So that priestess, as he was giving me this prophecy, she then told me that my auntie had stolen some items from her boss, because she was working for this other black family. After she had stolen those items from that family that she was working for, that was when her bosses told her that she was supposed to return those items that she had stolen, but she refused because she was afraid that she would get arrested, since the boyfriend to that woman that she was working for was a police officer. So she denied. After she had refused, I then saw on the mirror that my auntie then took those items and came with them, and she gave those items to my father. I saw my father in that mirror as he was hiding those items before that woman that my auntie was working for had came to the place where we were staying at that time when we were still young. But my father then lied to that woman whom my auntie was working for, and my father said that he didn't know anything about my auntie stealing from her, but it was just a lie. My father then removed those items from the place that he had hidden them, and he went and he sold them off, and they then divided the money amongst themselves. After that, they spent the money. So, Brother Nashi, the woman that my auntie was working for, I then saw that she went and she visited this other high priest, and she saw everything that my father and my auntie and the rest of my father's brothers and their sister had done, and they sold those items and they divided the money amongst themselves. So that woman asked that high priest to curse our family, and that was when that high priest placed a curse upon our family, and that was the generational curse that had been revealed to me by that elder. He was an elder at this other Pentecostal church that I was going to. So, Brother Nashi, I then saw that this was the reason as to why there was so much poverty in the home, because we grew up in an atmosphere whereby there was just poverty all over the place. But when I was growing up, my mother used to insult my father, because whenever there was no money, like at the time when my mother had lost several pregnancies, she kept on insulting my father and blaming my father, saying that he was the reason as to why she was losing all of these pregnancies that she would be carrying at that time. After that, they broke up, and after my parents had broken up, it was really tough for me and my siblings, because we were now living separate lives. My mom took some of my younger siblings, and my father refused that I should go, since I was the eldest. After that, my father then got married to another woman, and this woman, she didn't even care about me at all. I then ran away. After I ran away, I then got a job, and when I got that job, that was when I got married to my first wife. So, Brother Nashi, when that priestess was showing me all of those visions that she was showing me on the mirror that was at her altar, she then asked me what I wanted to do about this generational curse. I had only one intention. I didn't want anyone that was going to be born in our family in the next generation to go through that same pain that I went through, because poverty, Brother Nashi, we can fight the whole day, but there is no one in this world that wants to be poor. Yes, Brother Nashi, there is no one that wants to be poor. I then told that high priestess that I wanted to destroy this generational curse. She then said that she was going to assist me but I had to return back to my place. She gave me some herbs that I was supposed to use whenever I'll be bathing, and after using those herbs, she said that I will then return and she will see if my ancestors were going to be in agreement with her own ancestors. After she had given me those charms, I then returned back to the place where I was working and staying, and I used those charms whenever I was bathing. I then returned back to her place, and she then said that she wanted to test me. So at the back of her homestead, there was something that was like a bushy area. She told me that I had to go into that bushy area and I had to find a dove. So I went into that bushy area and I started looking around, looking up the trees, and she had said that I was supposed to catch this dove with my own hands, and this was my ancestors showing that they were in agreement with their ancestors. So I started walking around that bushy area until I saw that up in a certain tree there was a dove. This dove was sitting in her nest, and I didn't know how I did it, but I quickly climbed up the tree, and that dove did not move or do anything. It was like there was a spiritual force that had taken over my body. But the moment that I grabbed the dove, Brother Nashi, it changed and it became a snake. So I was really shocked with everything that had happened, and I fell to the ground whilst I was holding that snake, even though it didn't even attempt to bite me. The next thing that happened is that I woke up and I was inside that priestess's consulting room. She then told me that this meant that her ancestors were now going to work with my ancestors. So we then began with the rituals. Brother Nashi, as we were busy doing the rituals, I don't know what I saw. If the thing that I saw, if it can be classified as a baby or something that is just a demon, because as we were busy, as she was consulting with me, I saw something that is just unimaginable, because at first I had like there was someone that was walking towards that consulting room, but from the footsteps that I had judging the sound, it was like a giant was walking towards that consulting room. Then, Brother Nashi, when the door was opened, I saw something that I have never seen in my life. When I looked at that person that had opened the door, I don't even know how to explain that creature. This creature, it looked like a small baby, like just a newborn baby, but it was able to walk and do stuff like that. This creature, it was a woman, and it was even breastfeeding another newborn baby. This whole thing, it scared me. Even though that woman that had assisted me, it gave me a charm, and she had said that I was supposed to place that charm underneath my tongue, and I was not supposed to be afraid of that creature, for she said that the creature does not understand us mortal beings. Then that creature, after it had entered into the consulting room, then it went to that place where that high priestess was sitting. Then they spoke in a language that I could not understand. Then as the creature was walking outside of the consulting room, it looked at me once more, and I was told that I was not supposed to blink whilst it was looking at me. That high priestess said that this creature, it had the mind of a newborn baby, so it does not understand us mortal beings. As that creature had finished looking at me, it walked out of that consulting room. Then it started to laugh. I then asked that high priestess why that creature had been laughing at me, that one that looked like a newborn baby. Then that high priestess said that it was laughing because of the rules and the oath that it is given to you. She then told me that the oath and the rules that had been given to me was that I had to eat baby feces for a given time until I have died. This was the rule that I was supposed to follow. I said, where am I going to get all of these feces? Then that woman who was assisting me, she then said, you have to find your own way, just like the way that you found your way coming to my shrine. So Brother Nashi, after we had done the rituals, she gave me more charms that I was supposed to use. Back in those days, women were using napkins. They were not using your diapers that women use in these days. in an area that I was staying, Brother Nashi, it was a high density area, or more like a squatter camp. So what I started doing is that I would regularly go to a place where there was just a dumping area where people would just go and dump their stuff, and I would dig through that dumping area, Brother Nashi, looking for feces. And at that time, brother, I cannot guarantee you that I was only eating newborn babies' feces. I was just eating whatever I could find in that dumping area. If I would come across anything that looked like feces, I'll just take it, place it in a plastic bag, and I will eat it later at night. But it was really disgusting. As time went on, Brother Nashi, I saw that money like a river started flowing in my life. Each and every time there was always money. And at that time I had already broken up with my wife. Then I was told that I had to build a house in a certain area that had been chosen by that high priestess, and the way that I was supposed to build that house. And after I had completed building the house, I was then instructed to build something that looked like a gazebo. But the way that I was supposed to build this gazebo, it was not in a modern way, but in an olden way, with a thatch roof and stuff. Then there was an altar that was placed in that gazebo. That high priestess, she came, she was the one who helped me to place that altar. After we had placed that altar, she then fortified me, and she fortified that gazebo, which is more like my altar. So this is the place where I go to when I am performing these rituals. Over the years, Brother Nashi, what I started doing is that I then hired some guys. These guys that I hired, all that they do is that they go to those places where they are dumping areas, and they sift through the dirt whilst they are looking for your diapers, and they have to make sure that the diapers have some human faces in them, and they always bring them to me. Sometimes what these guys do is that they go around people's yards. They can even jump into your yard, and they will go through your refuse bags just looking for baby diapers. And after they have looked for the baby's diapers, that is when they would take only the baby's diapers that will have some feces in there. If the baby's diapers does not have anything, they will just leave it like that. Brother Nashi, this is my task that I do almost on a daily basis. I have to eat the feces, because this is my oath that was given to me when I did all of these rituals. Please do not write my country of origin or share my number. Yo, dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to us. Strange things do happen in this world.